Hi everyone, and welcome to our session, Prototyping a Game Fast with Unity using Unity Cloud Collaboration Tools. I'm Andréanne, I'm a product manager at Unity, and I'm working on Asset Manager, and specifically making it as easy as possible for you to integrate Asset Manager in your existing pipeline. And I'm here with Chafik, who's our tech lead for the plugin and editor, and Tobin, who's the senior product manager for collaboration. And we're excited to show you how you can reduce the burden on version control by using Asset Manager to store and version your assets. So we'll go through the problem statement. We'll do an intro to the tools that we'll be demoing today. The bulk of the presentation is a live demo. And then we'll have a roadmap segment, and we'll end with Q&A. So we all know this has been a tough year for all of us in the gaming industry. It's been harder for new titles to attract and retain players. Games are growing more complex, and the expectations from players are increasing constantly. There's a need for higher quality assets to hit new levels of graphical fidelity, and we see this shift towards fast-paced live service models. So when we speak with our customers, we definitely feel that studios are under more pressure to do more with less and often on tighter timelines. And we see all of this reflected in research also. So we see that studios are struggling to integrate their many tools and many systems together. We see that teams are distributed and hybrid, and that's they need to collaborate well, and that's a top concern. We also know that since they have less budget, they need to really keep their project organized, in scope, and on time, and that's also a struggle. And in fact, we also know that a lot of studios are looking for solutions that are well integrated to help them streamline their dev process. And while there are many different things contributing to this state of teams struggling with growing complexity, there's one thing that we're here to talk about today, and it's content pipeline. And that's one area that contributes to this state of struggling with complexity. What do we mean by content pipeline in this context? We loosely define content pipeline as the set of tasks that are required for assets to move from ideation to work in progress to publication in game. And while there are, of course, creation tasks in that, and this set of tasks, there's also a lot of management tasks, so things like uploading files, downloading files, converting files, and providing asset statuses, and so on. So yeah. And the reason why we're interested in content pipeline specifically as the one source of an area of challenges for teams is that it's something that our customers tell us that they struggle with. So these are direct quotes from customer research we did a couple of months ago. The one about needing a 4D view of asset refers to the need to see the iteration of an asset in a way that is visual. And my favorite one is time is currency. Even a small time saving can scale to a significant productivity boost. And that's especially true for something like a content pipeline where you have a lot of small steps. So if you can save 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, then it can really scale. So let's take a closer look at what we've seen from our customers' asset pipeline that when it's disconnected. So we know that asset creation is expensive, parallel iteration, and makes tracking files, dependencies, and changes hard. It's also commonly used, version control system, apologies, are commonly used as asset management in-game project. But this leads to bloated projects and massive repositories and a lot of optimization and cleanup time afterwards to remove the things you're not using. And that's just one challenge. Then we hear a lot about disconnected review process where folks need to download an asset repositories or a game repository that takes a lot of time just to download to test their work, and that just really adds time to making incremental changes or incremental improvements to assets. We also hear that studios have multiple storage solutions, so maybe they use one cloud storage solution for external contractors and then one for internal folks, so that just spreads asset wide and makes it harder to find them. We also hear that, and we know that frequent releases is crucial to test the quality of the game and to make sure that everything works. But build pipelines are resource intensive and time consuming, and we know that a lot of studios cannot afford to create all of those pipelines and maintain them. And finally, low return on investment. So assets are scattered, and it makes it hard to find them, or at times impossible. Just, you're looking for an asset of one certain type and you cannot find it, but you know it exists. So you start content from scratch, and this leads to repetitive content creation, and it's an issue. So all in all, there's just a need for this cohesive and well-integrated system, but that's what we hear, is that studios spend time stitching together solutions and trying to make something that's well-integrated, but it takes time and money. It's resource intensive. And that's why we've created a suite of tools to help you stay on schedule and help you simplify your workflow. So we want to help you deliver great-looking games with less bugs and more polish, and we believe that our solution of cloud-based digital asset management and CI/CD tools can help you with that. So we have Asset Manager, that's a unified repositories of content across your studio to power content reuse. So one centralized place for you to store your assets and version them and find them easier. We have version control, which is a version control solution that really scales and works at superior speed with large binary files. There's build automation that enables studios to build across multiple platforms simultaneously on the cloud, so without slowing down your computer. And there's the Unity editor, of course, but keep in mind that most of the flows that we'll be showing today, you can build yourself using our APIs and SDKs. So yes. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the demo, and we'll see all of these tools in actions. So we'd love for you to imagine for this session that we are a small team that's prototyping our new game, Desert Card Dash, and it's a sequel of our karting game. This time it will be in a more realistic desert, like sand biome, and we need to do this quickly. So Tobin will be our tech artist, Chafik will be our dev lead, and I'll be the game designer. So let's get started. Who's ready to see those tools in action? You guys ready? Yay! Take a photo.
All right. Okay, so yeah, as Andréanne explained, we are going to pretend for the sake of this demo that we are a small team working on a sequel of a karting game that we had. And so I have my task for today is to try to get as fast as possible into something that actually is playable. So we have the editor, the excitement of having an empty scene that we're going to populate together, and I'm going to show you how this can happen in a better way. A traditional way would have been to basically grab any kind of previous asset from either your Git repo or any other place that you will have to search for them and then integrate them. But instead, we're going to use the cloud services to make it easier, right? So I have this brand new project. It has some small asset that we're going to use. It has been set up to use Unity version control here. And we also have the asset manager integration for Unity. So currently our project is this one. There's no asset in it yet. To install the package manager, you need to go into the window, package manager. It's a package that still you need to install by name for now. Unity.asset manager for Unity. Yes, thank you. And just click on add, and it will install the latest. So, yeah, so we have already existing projects in our organization here that we can access to. Every project has assets that has been uploaded into them. I'm going to show you like how you can upload assets through the demo. The one that interests me is the micro game karting, because like it was like basically the first version of our game. Inside those assets, there are some that I'm looking for specifically that contains the game logic and everything that required to have something that runs. So one of them is the track prototype. The other one is the game logic, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to import basically the latest part, which is like the kart rig. It's only basically a skeleton of a kart that is going to be plugged to the rest of the system. So I already have the track prototype imported, right? So I pre-imported it for the demo. I can look at all the assets that I've imported into the in project tab, right? So I'm able to see, okay, I already have those two assets. If I click on them, I can see the details of that, right? I can see which files this asset contain, and I'm able to basically focus on the one that interests me, which is like the track prototype here. So if I want to go to focus here, show in project, I have my track prototype. So I'm going to go ahead and start populating my scene. So I have my track prototype. I'm going to drag and drop. So my track is here. I have the kart game logic here. And I'm going to delete the main camera because I'm using a virtual camera. And I'm going to remove the global volume here too. Right. So what's missing is the kart rig. So I'm going to search for the kart rig from here. So before I import the asset, I can click on it and see what's in it, just to review it, just to have an idea what's going to be imported. In this case, everything seems fine. I'm just going to drag and drop it here. So let's continue. Okay, so the kart rig was imported. I can drag and drop it. Now to make that run, I need to plug my camera, sorry, not this one. So I need to have my Cinemachine camera set up with the kart rig. So I'm going to follow the kart and I'm going to look at the capsule here. Yeah, and now if I enter play mode, yeah, so I was able to reuse like the previous logic from the previous game. And as you can see here, or as you cannot see, there is no visual for the kart. And that's expected because the kart rig is basically just a rig, right? So there's no visual assigned to it yet. So that's why I prepared some assets for it, right? And because I'm a dev developer, I have no really big skills in this domain, let's say. So I'm going to use like a cylinder for the wheels and a small box for the visual, but they're going to serve as like a container for future iteration on the visual of the kart. So I'm going to assign it, car body should be under body. Then we have our 4 wheels. Okay. Now if I enter play mode again, I can see that the physics is working. So I'm going to go ahead and save my scene. I'm going to call it prototype. And because I want to collaborate on the visual of the kart with Tobin, our technical artist, I'm going to use the asset manager for that instead of pushing that on, a drive or a version control system. So I'm going to open the asset manager again. I'm going to select both prefab that I've used. I'm going to drag and drop them. To upload them, I can also right-click click on Upload to Asset Manager. I'm going to make sure that I'm targeting the right project, which is like the Desert Car Dash. So I'm starting to populate, basically, visuals for this project here. I can review what's inside every asset. Here in this case, there's no dependency because it's using like the internal cylinder of Unity. And I can have some settings here where I can decide to either like override or duplicate asset. Here in this case, both assets are new, so they're going to be added. That's why like we have a small plus here. And I can decide to embed the dependencies, which in this case, it's not like relevant because there's no dependencies yet. So we're going to see these options in action a little later in the demo. So everything is fine. I can click on upload. I can have an idea on what's happening from the background tasks. And here we go. I'll clear that. So the assets were uploaded. They are now tracked locally on my project. Now that I have that, I'm going to commit my changes on UVCS. So I'm going to make sure that all new asset has been added properly. I'm also going to check the files that are used by the asset manager in order to track what asset you imported. So you have control over that too, right? So if you want to add an asset and make it sure that anyone else that's using the project with asset manager will be able also to see that this asset is tracked. So in this case, I'm just going to add first prototype. I'm going to check in the change. There we go. Now I'm going to the web interface of the asset manager there because I want to notify Tobin that I uploaded the containers and that he can start working on adding visuals here. So I'm just going to select here the code body. I'm going to the comment section. And from here, I'm going to start a new comment and say, hey, Tobin, can you please add some visuals for the cart? There we go. And I will let now Andréanne for the rest of the demo. Thanks.
Oh, great. All right, thanks, Chafik. That's some great work. So an important asset for this new prototype will be the cart. And I want to make sure that we get it right. So I went to the asset store and I purchased a pack that I think would work well for the team. And it is here. It is showing in this external library section of Asset Manager. So here you can see that these are all the projects that we've worked on in Tobin's sandbox. And you can create a project that's just, things that are like drafts or work in progress. And we have external libraries, which Tobin will talk about a little bit later. But for me, I'll just talk about the asset store portion. So here I see assets that I've purchased from the asset store. I see the packs, and I have the option to add them to a project where all of my teammates will be able to see. So here I select the pack. Oh, I could also learn a little bit more about it. I could learn about the publisher. I could, learn some information about the description and see more previews of the pack. Then I add it to Desert Car Dash, which is our project. And what's happening is that this pack will be itemized. So we will see all of the prefabs, all of the maths, all of the files that are making this asset. So next time that someone goes to our project, they'll be able to look for something like a prefab, for instance. and see the prefabs from this pack and get only the one that they're looking for in the project, therefore avoiding project bloat of getting the entire pack in your project. So there's a lot of cool variants with this one. I'm really excited to see what the team will do with this dune buggy. So I'll pass it to Tobin to continue the demonstration, and yeah. Over to you, Tobin.
Okay. So, as Andréanne mentioned, I'm playing the artist role in this demo. I'm actually been an artist for longer than I care to admit, so actually know a little bit about this and give the artist perspective. And so I want to talk a little bit about that first. And as Andréanne mentioned, the great thing about Asset Manager is it, for me, I call it like a staging area where I can keep all of my assets in one place, but only put into the project what I need, keeping the project light and a prototype, as it should. So I had a kickoff meeting this morning about this new project, the sequel, Desert Cart Dash. So if I click down on my projects tab here, the first thing I'm going to do is just favorite that. And we can see now that project is now my favorites, so easy access for that. But there's other things here as well. Andréanne mentioned the asset store, which I have down at the bottom. But another thing we have here is the Unity Material Asset Library, which is something that Unity has provided to me for free. And that's really great. These are just kind of standard materials, but it's a great library for getting started, maybe even taking it further in your game. And we can see how easily I can take those materials and make something a little bit more photorealistic, like the kickoff meeting said. So the first thing I'll do is kind of look into Desert Cart Dash. And I can see that there's a lot of assets in here. I'll search for body, because I know that was from our kickoff meeting. And I have a comment here from Chafik. Hey, Tobin, can you please add some visuals for this cart? So I'm about to do that in a second, but real quickly, because I have those other tasks that I mentioned, making this prototype a little bit more photorealistic, using these different kind of assets. I'm going to take a look into the Unity the Unity Material Library. And I know we're doing a desert game, so maybe I'll look for sand. And I can add some filters. I'll code down here to tags. And I know we're using URP for our game, so I'll say URP. I'll apply. And I get a really good list right off the bat. I could also just navigate down here to the collections, to the PBR materials, into the URP. I'll do the same thing, type sand. So there's a lot of different ways to navigate, Asset Manager. And so what I'm going to do is I'll take maybe a couple of these, sandstone. Oh, there's an asphalt in there as well. I think I'll need that for the track. And I'm going to add that to the project, and I'll add that to Desert Cart Dash. Great, so I have those added. So now I think I'm kind of ready to go. So I'm going to switch screens over here. And this is my scene, a little bit different than Chafik's as in the artist role. And I can take a look here, and I have the Asset Manager already, the project window already ready to go. And so I can go to Desert Cart Dash, and the first task that I had, again, was taking that body. And I'm going to download this to my project. And so there's a couple of different ways to import. Chafik showed one. You can right-click. I can also just hit the import button. And there was a wheel as well. So I'm going to go to the search for wheel. Great. So those are the two things that I need. I'll right-click this time and hit import. And I'll show in project, and there they are. So I'll double-click on the cart body. Do the body this time. And I've already preloaded some things from the asset store here, just in interest of time. So this is from T-Game Assets. I'll go to Models. And I know I want the Dune Hopper in this prototype. So I'll take the Dune Hopper. I'm going to drag that over the cart body. I'll also check really quickly for any transformations. I see there's like a centimeter to meter transformation here. So I'll make that 111. Great. So it looks like it's looking pretty good. I'm going to delete the cube. And I have my autosave here already on, so I know this one's ready to go. Let me do the same thing in there for the wheel. So I'll double click on the wheel. I have my models. I'm going to put my tire. I'll delete my cylinder. And remember, I got to go back to those transformations just to make sure everything is good. 111. Perfect. So now I can see I have the cart body and the cart wheel, but now I want to upload those into Asset Manager. So as Chafik showed you, there's the upload window here. So I can take those. I can drag and drop. And there's a little arrow up there that says these are ready to go, and they're going to replace an asset. So I'll upload these assets here. Just give it a second. This is uploading them to Asset Manager in the cloud and replacing that version. And as Chafik showed you, you have the task monitor there at the bottom, so you can always take a look about what's being uploaded and downloaded at any time. There we go. Awesome. So if I just switch over back to the web app, and I go to the body, I can see right here, this is the same one that had the comments, right? So now we go back, if we go to history, there's my version 2. So I've taken Chafik's prototype, I added a new body style, they uploaded it right back to Asset Manager, and now we all have it at our fingertips. So now I can reply to Chafik and say, hey, check out this cool body style. And right away, we've had a great iteration just between Chafik and I using Editor and Asset Manager. But remember, I had a couple other tasks. I wanted to do some materials and maybe even some vegetation. So I'll go back to my scene, and I can see here, you know, it's pretty rudimentary. There's some pre-work that I did just with some base materials. So I can go to the track extrusion, and if I go to the inspector here, I'll just see it as a test. So let me go to my Asset Manager. And I know I'm in Desert Card Dash, so if I click on those sand materials, yep, there they are right there. So this time I have a little textures folder here. It's got a couple things in it. I'm just going to, for interest of time, just select these. And this time I'm going to drag and drop those in. And those should import pretty quickly. I have these multiple tasks down here. And of course, can continue working while I'm doing that. So let me just go back to the inspector here while these upload and get ready to add that texture. I'll go back to Asset Manager just to see. Okay. There they come in, and there they are. So we have our asphalt, our sandstone cliff, and our sandy ground. So I have the track selected here. So that's the asphalt, and I'm just going to select the asphalt there. Awesome. That's already looking a lot better. But the sand is, you know, pretty plain. So let me select the terrain. I'll select the terrain mesh. Let me expand that. I can see there, this is a test sand. So I'll take my sandy ground that was provided by Unity Material Library. Awesome. That's already looking a lot better. So you can see just some free materials that are provided to me. I already have a much better prototype that we're going to have for our stakeholders. So the last thing I want to do is just, you know, look for some vegetation. And I know from working on previous games, we have a lot of great assets at our studio. So we're in a desert environment. So I'm just going to go to all assets, and I'll select, I'll search for palm, because palm's a good environment. And we actually, so we have some good, you know, good trees here. I could add a filter here, as Andréanne said, for prefabs, but we already have a couple of things here, so I know what I want. And I know this date palm 002, it's got a nice curved trunk. So let me take that, and I'll import that. And then while I'm doing that, I can look down to this sage palm as well. That looks kind of cool, so I'll import that as well. Great, the Dune palm, or the date palm has been uploaded. So I'm gonna right-click and just say Show in Projects. So that shows that one. So let me drag and drop that into our scene. That looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna move this back a little bit towards the start area, just to give a little bit of life. And we can see now that the other has been imported as well. Oops, show, importing it twice. All right. There we go. Did not mean to do that, but I will show that in project. So now we have it imported twice. But now I can drag and drop that Sage Palm prefab in as well. And so I can do is this, for as many assets as I need, really quickly dressing out a good layout. I can Control D that, just make a copy, put that over there more towards the start area. And so you can see kind of where this is going. So very quickly with old assets, with new assets, with things from the asset store, I can make a really quick prototype and do my whole layout scene very quickly, knowing that all I have in my project is exactly what I want. So I'm going to hand back over to Chafik. I'll work on this for another 45 minutes or so. Let's pretend I've given it right back to Chafik. So.
Woohoo!
Okay, so I'm just switching context a bit here. All right. So fast forward in time, Tobin did a great job improving the visual for our scene here, our track. So I can test it actually, so I can enter play mode and see what we have. So everything has been updated except the cart, right? So now I'm going to show you how to update the cart, right? So because I previously imported the asset, actually, I forgot this, right? So I received a notification from Tobin, directly from the scene dash. I'm just going to refresh here. So I received a notification saying that Tobin here has updated the cart wheel and the visual. So from there, I'm going to update them in Unity. I'm going to open the asset manager. And in fact, like I can see that now my asset here is showing as outdated. That's because there's a new update to it. So I'm going to focus on the cart rig. And I'm going to update to latest. So I have a small notification that it's going to jump from version 1 to version 2. That's what I want. And we can see that the wheels has been replaced automatically because they are technically the same prefab, right? I'm going to do the same with the cart body. Yeah. So now we have all the visual we want. As a gameplay programmer, I'm going to make sure that everything is working. And in case it's not, I can always go back into like my asset, go back into the version tab, and revert back to the version 1. So the life cycle of the asset here is outside of any other source control that I have, giving me like more control over how and why, what do I want to update, right? So in this case, we have what we need. My next task is to create a build for that. So I'm going to use the cloud build system to create a WebGL build because it's a lot easier to share and test. So I'm going to the version control here. I'm going to make sure that all the assets that has been added are there, which is the case. And I'm going to add improved visual. And I'm going to check it. Okay, so to go into the Unity build system, like from the dashboard here, the Unity Cloud dashboard, I have the DevOps tab here that I can click on. In the build automation section, there's a build history. And from here, like I already made some builds for that game, I'm just going to launch a new one. I can click on build and click on default. Yeah, so the build is started. For the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to run a previous build here. So the advantage of WebGL is that you can run it directly from the browser. You can click on the three dots here and click on play in order to start it. So the scene has not been optimized to load fast. So while it's uploading, while it's loading, I'm going to show you how you can actually set up a configuration. So if you go into configuration here, like the default WebGL configuration that I have can be edited. And it has been set up to actually use the desert cart repo on the main branch directly, right? And you can use whatever source control you want for this hook. If I go back here, I can change the resolution, make it bigger. And now I have my WebGL build running. And I can share it, and we can test it and see what's working, what's not, and keep iterating on that project. And that's the end of the demo part, so I will give it back to Andréanne.
All right, so great demo, thank you. Let's recap what we saw. So if we go back to the disconnected content wheel we saw earlier and go through how the solution we live demoed mapped to these steps, we saw that Asset Manager is a flexible and extensible solution for you to store your asset and then add your created asset from various sources. So it could be from a typical asset library, or it could be from the asset store, it could be from the material library that we provide. And then we have powerful integrations and editor with Unity version control and with Asset Manager for you to stay in context of where you are integrating those assets and then checking in your files. We have build automation, so you can build simultaneously on multiple platforms. So Chafik showed us the WebGL, but you could have done it on multiple platforms as well. And we have, it's easy for us to reuse assets because they're all in a centralized, dedicated space. So all of these solutions work together to really help you make the most out of your content, get a centralized, dedicated space, and have an end-to-end flow that works from the beginning. Yeah, so let's go just a little bit into more details about what we demoed and with each tools. So Chafik showed us how you can browse assets across projects from the Unity editor, from the Asset Manager window. He showed us how you can import only the necessary assets, so only getting the asset with the dependencies. And I think it's something we haven't shown actually in the demo while I'm thinking of it, but we have a dependency section here. So let's say this prefab has a dependency on a mat, on a mesh. You will be getting those when you import the prefab. He showed us how you can check in your files using the Unity version control plugin. And he, again, showed us how you can build in the cloud and play with WebGL and share those builds with testers. Tobin showed us how you can browse assets from various sources. So he showed us how you can browse assets from the material library. I showed you how you can browse assets from the asset store that you purchased. Tobin showed you how you can do feedback and comments on assets. And he showed you how you can iterate on assets like the cart without checking in the entire repo. So I think this part is great because, well, he had the project open and it was in the right context. But if he had wanted, he could have just gotten the body and the wheels from Chafik in a Unity project, replace the prefab, re-upload this, and it would have made the iteration time super fast, right? Because he wouldn't have had to wait for a download of the entire project and then opening up in Unity. So that's something you can do with Asset Manager. Now, what's next? So for the upcoming months and early 2025, you can look for more integrations. So actually, the asset store integration that I showed you is the only thing that is not released yet. So you can look for it in the upcoming weeks, but the rest is in production and you're able to test it now. And other integration with tools that are already in your pipeline, so things like Jira, Perforce, Git early in the first half of 2025. You can also look for the ability to drag and drop from the Asset Manager window on the scene directly. And you can look for more collaboration features, so a URP viewer on Asset Manager on the web app, visual annotation tools, resolving threads. You can look for more transformations. So we are generating previews for the assets that you are uploading to Asset Manager, but we'll have more custom Pixies transformation through Asset Manager. You can look for virtual private cloud deployment in 2025. You can also look for the DevOps things that are coming, the Unity Cloud Drive in beta. So we'll have a QR code if you want to sign up for that. It's a solution that will allow you to do cloud-based collaboration with storage as well. And for build automation, we're increasing the console build support, so you can look forward to that. So thank you.